fucking
Go get it on Snap. Check it on Snapchat.
What the?
No,
No, this can't.
no, what you do? We need to turn. What the fuck, dude? What the fuck?
2016 was a horrible year for me, to say the least. I wouldn't say I was suicidal, but I definitely did not fear death in the slightest. I probably wouldn't have done this if I was in my right state of mind, or I would have just called the police. My car was in the shop for a couple of days, so I had to walk home from work one day. It was about a 6-mile walk if I take the roads, but only a 3-mile walk if I walked along the railroad tracks, which I opted to do at the time. As I passed a heavily wooded road, I noticed I was being followed by, you guessed it, a guy in a clown costume holding something that I couldn't tell if it was a baseball bat or a machete. I don't know if he knew I didn't notice him or something, but I started walking slower, and he slowly caught up to me. When he was about 50 feet behind me, I put my backpack down, instantly turned around, and started sprinting at him while screaming like an insane person. He screamed and ran away from me, and he ran into the woods on the side. He didn't follow me after that. The moral of the story: act crazier than the person following you. This didn't happen to me, but to my neighbor. Back in 2016, my neighborhood had a handful of teenagers, and we all went to the local high school. After a football game during the whole killer clown thing, we ran into each other and all decided to drive home together, except for one of my neighbors who was waiting for her friend's boyfriend. Our area that we lived in is pretty safe, and there was a ton of people around, so we figured she was okay to wait for her friends and drove home. The next day, we found out from her mom that the boyfriend had been super late, not showing up until far after the game had ended. While my neighbor and her friend were waiting by the doors to our school in the parking lot, a van full of guys in clown costumes had pulled up and started just staring at them. They asked them who they were, what they were doing, etc., but no answer. A few of them had baseball bats and things like that. One of the guys got out of the van and grabbed my neighbor and tried to drag her into the van, but her friend smacked his hand hard enough that he let go, and they ran back to the field, where there was still a few parents and students, and someone called the police for them. Nobody ever found out who the guys in the clown costumes were or anything, but it was an urban legend at my school for months afterwards. 2016. I think it was 11 years old. Killer clowns ran rampant in my neighborhood. Sometime when the craze was still new, our school was harassed all day by some teens dressed up in clown costumes, and they ran around with a chainsaw. They got arrested in the woods out by the school. The second incident was on Halloween. I was meeting one of my buddies at the local swimming pool to go trick-or-treating. Adjacent to the pool was a playground, so my friend and I went to go screw around while waiting for our parents to stop talking about whatever boring parent stuff they were doing. My buddy and I are standing on the top of the slides, and we were joking around, when suddenly they go pale. So I rip around and see we are almost entirely surrounded by clowns, having various weapons in their hands. I didn't hesitate. I jumped off the top of the slide and, well, let's just say I ran so fast that I couldn't breathe after a while. I was in full panic mode. I was screaming for my mom. My friend wasn't too far behind, and when I looked back, the clowns had already slunk off. Scary shit back then, but I think it's really hilarious now. I came home to see a clown walking around my neighborhood as I got out of the car to bring in groceries. The clown sees me and stands there to watch me, to freak me out, I guess. But little did they know, I was having a pretty bad day, so I didn't care much about them. Just when I started bringing my bags in, one of the bags broke and my food dropped all over the ground. That's when I broke down and started crying. Without missing a beat, the clown came running towards me to check and see if I was okay and help bring my stuff in. The guy was super nice, and I gave him my candy bars that I bought for myself to, feel better. And before anyone asked, my sadness overwhelmed me. I couldn't hold it in anymore, so the tears decided to come out at a weird time. I'm just so happy that those clowns decided to break character and help me that day. It really made me really happy and put me in a good mood, and not all those clowns were really that bad. I was driving down the road one day, and I saw a clown jump out in front of my car. I got out of the car ready to fight. He approached, and as I went to do the initial push, I had a bad day, and I was sick of all the stuff these guys were doing, so that's when I was about to push him. He just stopped, took off his mask, and apologized. We chatted for a short moment, and he was massively depressed, and he was doing it as an outlet for his intense emotions. We exchanged details, and about a week later, we met up for a drink and a chat. He was a really nice dude. He committed suicide in 2019, and what made it worse is that it was the year that we fell out of touch. I just assumed he moved on to bigger things. It's a very sad story.